I stared at my mother's text message, the blue bubble glowing accusingly on my iPhone's screen. Christmas dinner is for doctors and executives only. You understand, dear? Your sister Julia's new position as chief surgeon deserves proper company. Metropolitan Medical Center's executive lounge stretched out before me, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city's snow-covered skyline. From my private office, unmarked and known only to select board members, I watched the hospital's elite staff arrive for the exclusive holiday dinner. I adjusted my simple black dress, choosing to forgo the designer labels my family worshipped. My sister Julia's Tesla pulled into her reserved parking spot, Chief of Cardiac Surgery, prominently displayed on the sign. My phone buzzed again. Dad, this time, no hard feelings, sweetheart. But appearances matter. A hospital administrator's assistant wouldn't fit in with the executive crowd. If only they knew that administrative assistant was my cover while I secretly transformed Metropolitan Medical from a failing hospital into the country's leading medical facility. 5 years of working behind the scenes, using shell companies and private holdings to hide my identity as the owner and CEO. Through the glass, I watched my parents arrive. Mom in her Chanel, Dad sporting his Rolex. The perfect power couple, renowned neurosurgeon and hospital board member. They'd spent years crafting this image, along with their perfect daughter Julia's rising surgical career. My phone lit up with a message from my actual executive assistant. Final paperwork ready for the merger announcement. Press release scheduled for dinner. I smiled slightly, remembering how my parents had laughed when I got my MBA instead of following their medical path. Business is for people who can't handle real medicine, they'd said. The executive dining room was decorated lavishly for Christmas. Crystal snowflakes and gold accents everywhere. Through the security feed, I watched my family settle at the main table. "Where's your sister?" someone asked Julia. "Oh, Emma." She waved dismissively. "She's just a hospital administrator's assistant. These events are for real medical professionals." Mom nodded approvingly. "We had to be firm about it. You can't mix social classes at these functions." "Probably filing paperwork somewhere," Dad added with a chuckle. "Or getting coffee for her boss. If they only knew I was their boss." My phone buzzed again. The merger announcement was ready. Metropolitan Medical was about to acquire 5 more hospitals, making it the largest private healthcare network in the state. The press release would reveal its mysterious owner at last. "Ms. Anderson?" My actual assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Dr. Richardson, Chief of Medicine, needs your immediate approval for the merger documents." "Send him to the executive dining room," I replied. "It's time." I stood smoothing my dress. 5 years of hiding, of letting them believe I was a failure had led to this moment. Through strategic investments and innovative management, I'd turned their struggling hospital into a healthcare empire worth billions. The security feed showed Dr. Richardson entering the dining room, tablet in hand. "Excuse me," he announced to the gathered elite. "I need the CEO's approval for the merger." "I'm right here." Dad started to stand, but Dr. Richardson shook his head. "Not you, Dr. Anderson. I need Ms. Emma Anderson, CEO of Metropolitan Medical Group." The room fell silent. Wine glasses froze midway to lips. "That's impossible," Julia sputtered. "Emma's a low-level administrator." "Actually," I said, entering the room quietly, "I own the hospital. All of it." Mom's fork clattered to her plate. Dad's face went pale. "The merger paperwork, Dr. Richardson?" I held out my hand for the tablet. "I believe acquiring 5 more hospitals deserves a proper announcement." 5 more. Dad whispered. "Making us the largest private healthcare network in the state," I confirmed, signing the digital documents. "Though I suppose a low-level administrator shouldn't make such big decisions." "But how?" Julia demanded. "Remember when you all laughed at my MBA?" I smiled slightly. Turns out business skills can save more lives than a single surgeon. By making healthcare accessible and efficient, we help millions. The PR team's message flashed on my phone. The press release was going live. Around the room, phones began buzzing as the news broke. "Merry Christmas," I said softly. "I believe this dinner was for executives only? Lucky for me, I qualify." The executive dining room crackled with tension as phones lit up everywhere with breaking news alerts. Metropolitan Medical's mystery owner revealed. Emma Anderson's $3.8 billion healthcare revolution. This can't be real, Julia kept muttering, frantically scrolling through the article on her phone. My little sister. The owner? I took my seat at the head of the table. My rightful place is C. The crystal glasses and fine china seemed to mock my family's earlier dismissal of me as support staff. Dr. Richardson, I addressed the chief of medicine, please share the quarterly results with our guests. He nodded enthusiastically. Under Ms. Anderson's leadership, patient satisfaction is up 85%. Treatment costs have decreased by 40%. Our research department has produced more breakthrough patents in 5 years than in the previous 20 combined. But you get coffee for people, Mom stammered. You file paperwork. A cover, I explained calmly. While you were focused on appearances, I was transforming this hospital from a failing institution into a healthcare innovation leader. Dad found his voice at last. The budget cuts last year, cutting executive benefits, were my decisions, I confirmed. Redirecting funds from luxury perks to patient care seemed logical. Though I believe, Dad, you called it short-sighted penny-pinching by bureaucrats. Julia's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. My department's audit revealed some concerning practices, I finished. Prioritizing wealthy patients, rushing poor patients through treatment. That ends today. My phone buzzed continuously now, congratulatory messages from healthcare leaders worldwide. The stock price was soaring as investors realized who had engineered Metropolitan Medical's remarkable turnaround. Your parking spot, Julia said suddenly. Your office. Are exactly where they should be, I replied. Unlike some, I don't need a golden nameplate to validate my worth. Dr. Richardson cleared his throat. The press is gathering downstairs. They're requesting a statement from the CEO. Of course, I stood smoothly. Oh, and Julia? About your new cardiac wing proposal? Denied. Those funds will go to expanding the free clinic instead. You can't do this, she exploded. I'm chief of cardiac surgery. And I'm your boss, I reminded her gently. Every patient deserves excellent care, not just those who can afford your premium fees. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed napkin. All these years we thought. You thought what you wanted to think, I cut in. Too busy bragging about Julia's surgeon salary to notice I was building an empire. My assistant appeared at the door. Ms. Anderson? The governor is on line 1 about the state healthcare initiative. Dad's hand trembled as he reached for his wine. The initiative, that's $1 billion project. Which Metropolitan Medical will now lead, I confirmed. Turns out an MBA can impact more lives than a scalpel. The room had grown uncomfortably quiet, the other executives watching my family's fall from grace with poorly concealed interest. What happens now? Mom whispered. I checked my watch, a simple timepiece that cost more than Julia's Tesla. Now, the merger goes through. 5 more hospitals join our network. And this hospital's culture changes, dramatically. Meaning? Julia demanded. Meaning merit matters more than social status. Patient care matters more than executive privileges. I smiled slightly. And family connections no longer guarantee position. The color drained from Julia's face as she understood the implication. Her protected status as the founder's daughter had just evaporated. You'd demote your own sister? Mom gasped. I'd promote or demote anyone based on performance, I corrected. Julia's department has the highest complaint rate and lowest satisfaction scores. That's what matters now. My phone buzzed again. The press conference was ready. Outside, news vans were already lining up. By the way, I added, gathering my things, the executive dining room is being converted into a staff relaxation area. All staff, including the cleaning crew you never bothered to acknowledge. But, where will we have our special events? Mom asked weakly. The cafeteria serves excellent food, I replied. Good enough for our nurses and technicians, good enough for everyone. Dr. Richardson held the door for me. The board is waiting, Ms. Anderson. They're excited about the free clinic expansion. I paused at the threshold, looking back at my stunned family. Merry Christmas. Consider this your gift, a lesson in humility and real healthcare leadership. As I walked out, I heard Julia whisper, "Our sister owns the hospital. Your entire surgical department needs restructuring," I continued, pulling out a tablet. "Starting with your private patient policy." "Pi what?" Julia's voice rose an octave. "The practice of pushing wealthy patients to the front of the transplant list," I clarified. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" Dad stood up abruptly. "Now wait just a minute." "No, you wait," I cut him off. "I have documentation of every violation, every ethical breach, every time you prioritized money over medicine." My assistant appeared with a stack of folders. "The audit reports you requested, Ms. Anderson." "Thank you, Sarah." I started distributing them around the table. "You'll find detailed records of departmental misconduct. Particularly interesting reading on pages 18 through 24, the VIP patient protocol." Other executives at the table began flipping through the documents, their faces growing increasingly concerned. Julia's hands shook as she read. "This is a witch hunt," Mom declared, but her voice wavered. "This is accountability," I corrected. "Something this hospital has lacked under the old leadership." My phone buzzed again. CNN wanted an exclusive interview about the merger. Below that, a message from the mayor. "Congratulations on the expansion. Your vision for accessible healthcare is exactly what this city needs." "The press conference starts in 20 minutes, my assistant reminded me. "Perfect timing," I smiled. "Just enough time to announce the departmental changes." "Changes?" Julia whispered. "Effective immediately, all surgical departments will be overseen by the new ethics committee," I announced. "Patient priority will be based on medical necessity, not bank accounts." "You'll destroy everything we've built." Dad protested. "No," I said firmly. "I'm rebuilding what you corrupted. This hospital was founded to help people, not serve as your private club." The room erupted in chaos. Executives whispering, my family protesting, phones buzzing with news alerts. Through it all, I remained calm, watching their carefully constructed world crumble. "One more thing," I added, silencing the room. "The annual executive bonus structure has been revised. Those funds will now support our resident program and nursing staff." "But the holiday homes," Mom began. "We'll have to wait. I believe saving lives matters more than vacation properties." I stood, smoothing my dress. "Now if you'll excuse me, I have a press conference to attend. Time to show the world what real healthcare leadership looks like." As I walked toward the door, Julia called out, "Emma, please. We're family." I turned back one last time. "Family? Funny. That didn't matter when you thought I was just an assistant. Now if you'll excuse me, this coffee girl has an empire to run." 3 months later, Metropolitan Medical Center was unrecognizable. The executive wing had been converted into an expanded pediatric unit, the luxury boardroom transformed into a state-of-the-art emergency care center. I stood in what used to be the VIP lounge, now a bright waiting area where patients of all backgrounds received equal care. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the new mission statement on the wall: "Excellence in healthcare for everyone." "Ms. Anderson?" My assistant appeared at my side. "Time magazine is here for the Healthcare Innovator of the Year interview. And your family is waiting in your office." I checked the security feed on my tablet. Mom, Dad, and Julia sat in the simple but elegant office that had replaced their former luxury suite. They looked different, humbled. Julia wore regular scrubs instead of her customized designer ones. "The quarterly reports?" I asked. "Patient satisfaction at record highs. Treatment costs down 45%. The free clinic has served over 10,000 new patients." She paused. "Dr. Julia's department actually shows improvement under the new protocols." I nodded, unsurprised. My sister was a talented surgeon when she focused on medicine instead of status. The walk to my office took me through the general treatment areas. No more separate wings for wealthy patients. Doctors and nurses nodded respectfully as I passed. They'd learned that their CO noticed everything from the cleanest floors to the kindest gestures. "Emma," Mom started as I entered but faltered at my raised hand. "Dr. Richardson has submitted his reports," I said, taking my seat. "Would you like to know what they say?" They exchanged nervous glances. Julia's surgical success rate has increased 30% since implementing standard protocols, I continued. Turns out treating all patients equally improves overall care. Fascinating. You were right, Julia said quietly. I'd lost sight of why I became a doctor. And the hospital? Dad asked. The changes you've made have made us the leading healthcare facility in the country, I finished. Our model is being studied nationwide. Turns out compassion is good business. Mom twisted her hands in her lap. We've been doing a lot of thinking. About how we treated you. About what really matters. 3 months is a long time to reflect, I acknowledged. The period since the Christmas revelation had been transformative for everyone. I gave up my private practice, Dad said suddenly. I'm working full-time in the general surgery department now. Regular hours, regular patients. I know. I pulled up his file on my tablet. Your patient feedback scores are impressive. Amazing what happens when you focus on healing instead of billing. Julia leaned forward. The resident program you started, teaching young doctors to balance medicine with ethics, it's brilliant. Unlike some, I gave them a pointed look. I believe in lifting others up, not pushing them down. My phone buzzed. Another hospital group wanted to implement our model. The governor was calling it the future of healthcare. We were wrong, Mom said softly. So terribly wrong. About you, about medicine, about everything. Yes, I agreed simply. You were. Can we? Julia hesitated. Can we start over? Not as hospital royalty, but as people who genuinely want to help others. I studied them carefully. The arrogance was gone from their postures, replaced by something that looked like genuine humility. The free clinic needs volunteer surgeons, I said finally. Weekend shifts, no special treatment. Interested. Their eyes lit up with hope. And you, Mom? The patient advocacy program needs coordinators. Real work helping real people navigate their care. She nodded eagerly. Yes, anything. One chance, I warned. Prove you've really changed. Thank you, Dad whispered. For not firing us when you could have. I believe in second chances, I replied. Like the chances we give our patients every day. My assistant appeared at the door. Time magazine is ready. And the children's ward is asking if you're still reading stories this afternoon. I smiled. My favorite part of the week. Of course. Tell them I'll bring new books. You read to the patients? Julia asked, surprised. Every week. Unlike some people, I believe CEOs should know who they're really serving. As my family stood to leave, I added, Sunday dinners resume next week. At the hospital cafeteria. If you want to know how your staff lives, eat where they eat. They nodded, understanding the lesson. Oh, and Julia? I called as they reached the door. That cardiac research proposal you submitted? The one focused on treating underprivileged communities? Proved. That's the kind of thinking we need. Her eyes welled up. Thank you for showing me a better way. After they left, I walked to the window looking out at the city we served. Below, a family was entering the free clinic. The kind of patients who would have been turned away 3 months ago. My phone buzzed with another message. Metropolitan Medical named #1 hospital in patient care.